Welcome to Soy Sauce and Grits,
a community for everything Blasian and beyond. My name is Rose Geddes, co-host.
My name is Kumi Ide, co-host, and we have the first guest today, and her name is Anjali Win Blasian, and she was born in Korea and grew up in Japan. And she lives in America now. So should we just bring her in?
Let's bring her in. Let's meet Angeline. And there you are.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh my goodness, you're gorgeous. How are you doing today? Happy Ramadan.
How are you guys doing?
Hi.
Oh, sorry.
Hi. Hi. So nice to meet you. Can you hear us? Is that okay?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Okay.
Well, Angeline, Kumi was sharing with me that you were born in Korea, raised in Japan, you live in the States now. What, Southern? Are you back east or here?
I'm back east.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, tell us about yourself. You know, your family dynamic and mixture.
Yep. So I'm Korean and Black, and I have I'm 43. So I grew up in Japan. What now?
I said, I've got you beat.
You guys look good.
Oh, thank you.
I'm the same.
Yeah, right? Oh, you guys are the same age.
Oh, maybe I'm a year older, but
well, you know what they say, Angeline, Black don't crack and Asian don't break.
Right.
So we got it.
You guys got the both.
You
Lucky
too.
you.
Now I've got a question.
Okay.
There you are. So, Angeline, thank you for that little hiccup. You're gorgeous. Can you tell us about yourself?
Yes. So I'm Korean and Black, and I am 43. I have a daughter. She's 19. She's in college.
Oh.
And I live on the East Coast. I'm an East Coaster. I'm not a fan of the West Coast. You know, when I grew up in Japan, a lot of the influences were like hip hop music, but a lot of like East Coast hip hop. So I was more like, you know, drawn to that swag. But you know, I identify, like I said, I identify with both, but you know, I growing up, I've seen both bad and good from both sides. And sometimes, you know, you find yourself in dilemmas, you know, with African American and Asians, where there's issues amongst each other, but you know, you empathize with both sides, you know, and sometimes, you know, a lot of Asians can be racist towards African Americans, and you know, I check them. And you know, even with African Americans, they're racist towards Asians, and you know, I have to check people. I've had to check my friends, and then you know, I don't find some things funny, you know, because I relate with both. And then sometimes I have a struggle with people because you know, they feel like, well, you're Black and that takes the dominance, and you know, like I guess basically I should leave my Asian side hanging.
Wow.
I've had that experience, like, well, you're more Black than anything, but no, I identify with both equally.
Right. That's the first time
and
I've
I get
heard
that question.
That's the first time I've heard it. See, I'm what, 13, 14 years older than you. So what I would hear is, you know, you're not really Black, or you're not Black enough, you know, and nobody's scared of you, you're mixed, that kind of thing. But this is my first time hearing that they're saying, oh, you know, you're not Asian.
No, I've gotten that a lot from like the Black side, where you're more Black. I've experienced what you said too, where people, you know, they think they assume, some people when I meet them, that I'm full Asian.
Yeah, with the
And then when I
tan.
tell them I'm right, and then when I tell them, well, I'm part Black, they're like, well, no, you're just Asian. Because your eyes are slanted and you look more Asian. So I hear it on both sides, and sometimes it's a struggle, even when growing up, and even now too as an adult. I deal with that. It kind of sometimes puts you in a soft space, because you empathize with both sides, but you're not going to take mess from both either when they're attacking each other.
That's right.
So it's a tough
Is
spot to be in sometimes.
is it now as an adult still as much of a struggle? And that goes into our next
So
question.
you know what? I have a lot of debates online with people on social media when I see posts where I see like a lot of people in the African American community that say things like, well, they're opening up all these nail shops in our neighborhood, or they have the beauty supply stores and we need to get our own. And they're racist to us anyways. I don't know why they're in our neighborhood. And it's like, the things I say with that is, there's a couple of things. They feel like Asians don't like them, the ones that open the stores or these businesses in these neighborhoods. But then they also feel like, well, they're taking up all the business. And I always say, well, if you want a business, open your own. If you I always say, don't complain about the problem, be a solution or have a solution.
I just have a question. What is that social media platform? I mean, what is that?
You see it a lot on Facebook, and you see it a lot on especially Instagram in the comments. A lot of people are disgruntled. They feel disgruntled about Asians opening businesses in their communities, and then they make comments, well, they don't like us, they don't love us, why should we have empathy for them? Like when the attacks are happening on Asians, they say, well, where was the same outrage or love for us? And I know Asians that were empathetic towards Blacks when they experience racism or some type of like police brutality or something like that. But just like I tell people, you got racism in all races, right? But you can't just put like Asians in one whole group and then
that's like
say they're all the same, just like Black.
That's just saying like all Black people are racist against Asians. That's not true either. Ours is a mixed thing, and that's one thing that it is a very important topic, because it breaks my heart when you see one half of your people attacking your people, basically,
Right.
But it's
I don't know. It's interesting when I see both sides, and I never could agree I can't agree with something that I don't believe in. I don't believe that that's true, because I've experienced situations where I have Asian friends and they empathize with things that Blacks go through. But it's you're on both ends of the stick, and
right.
I stick up for both.
That's right, as we all should, and if it was a Mexican person going through it, I'd stick up for them too. It's just us as a people. Let's just stop turning on each other, because that's part of the plan too. Stay busy while we just rob and change the rules and change the laws on the books, while you're busy focusing in on that one aspect, thinking that's the problem. See, all of this is just a big game. So that's what it is. That's not the problem. I don't get too deep in the weeds with defending, but I just overall say, that's not really the problem. The problem is the laws being changed. It's not, and that's why we're also going to invite one of our speakers will be my husband, who is very knowledgeable on the Asian cinema, Japanese cinema, Korean cinema, you name it. And also he has a great history, and you have a professor that we'll bring on,
Mhm.
that really we have more in common than we are different. How do you feel being mixed? Well, first of all, what is your mixture? It's Korean
It's
or Japanese?
Korean and Black.
And Black. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So it's your mother that's
My
Korean?
mom's Korean. Hmm.
Ah, was she born here? No,
No, she was born in Korea,
she was born in
in South
Korea.
Korea.
Oh,
Yep.
how
Hmm.
has being mixed changed or shaped your personality?
Um, when I was growing up, I felt because it goes up until now. So when I was growing up, I felt like embarrassed that I was mixed. Um, you know, I didn't think like it was a cool thing for some reason. I don't know, I guess because the experiences I was experiencing as a kid, people aren't nice. So now, that I'm older, it's like Blasian is a thing.
I know,
um,
right? Well, see,
and
that's
so
also
like,
based on our age, because, I was born in 64. So it weren't very many people that were mixed. So that was when being mixed, as I would say, wasn't cool. Like it's cool now, but it wasn't cool. So you're just
right.
at the next.
Mhm.
Now, Takara,
Right.
your
Yeah.
daughter is different.
Wait, I have a
I
question.
embrace it. Sure.
Yeah, so like your mom was Korean. Did she kind of like teach you her culture like all the way, or like was she more like American?
She taught me, the culture, like because I was born in Korea and I
Mhm.
lived there a few years, I adapted to the culture more than, the American culture actually. First, I adapted to the Korean culture. But I spoke Korean too at home and with my mom and her mom. So I was able to like learn that way too. And then I played with kids like in the neighborhood and they were Korean.
Mhm.
So, I just I didn't think anything of it, but I recognize the culture because that's how I was raised
Mhm.
initially. They didn't start instilling like the American culture into me and my brother till we like moved to the States.
Oh, okay. And which was
So
how old?
we were about like I think I was like 9,
Okay.
and then I came back. Then I went back overseas. I
Mhm.
only
Yeah,
stayed in
yeah,
the States a few years, so
yeah.
I grew up overseas. I went to Japan. We lived there, and that was just like awesome. That was the best time of my life.
Really?
I
Tell
want to
us.
go back. Yes, I want to go back to Japan. I don't want to. I don't want to live here. I want to live in Japan.
What part of Japan?
So I lived in Okinawa,
Mm.
and I also was in mainland Japan, but I like Okinawa. It's a tropical island, and it's just more peaceful for me. That's what my experience was. And even though you experience racism as well, but it wasn't to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go back. I
Mhm.
loved it, the food, the culture, and I didn't feel like I was missing anything in the States. Like when I got to the States, because at first when I was living overseas, I was like, I want to come to the States. I want to move to the States. Then when I got here, it was like you experience for a little while. And then now I'm like where I'm like settling down with my age and I'm like, I want to go back. And that's
Mhm.
where I want to live like the rest of my life.
Wow.
So
Was
it's just the best experience.
so the best experience was people nice overall? Like I know you say you experienced some racism, but like overall was like good.
People were nice and I had Japanese friends. So when I can't believe I'm about to tell this story, but when I was in high school, like I was like 15 up until like 17, I made like Japanese friends. Like they were older than me and we used to go to the club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
We was at the club. We were like I didn't have a fake ID because it was like they weren't really like checking for those things.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Right. And so I know my dad knows because
Listen,
knows.
we
Right.
we
But
all
I
did the
was
same thing.
drinking, and partying. But like times have changed. Like the kids now are not like back then. So my parents, I never got caught, but
Right.
it was just, I had fun. And the Japanese girls that I was friends with, like we just like connected and we had a bond. And like some of them I talk to now, like they found me on Facebook and they live in the States now. And so we reminisce about those days. Like it was just so fun. There wasn't any racism with amongst them, but I did experience it, like outside, like if I go shopping or older, like for example in Japan, older Japanese elders. I think it was just more towards like Americans, but there was racism towards to like Blacks too. But it wasn't that bad where I was just like, I don't want to ever go back.
Right.
Like I really, really miss it. And like when I meet other like for example, Japanese people and I say things in Japanese, they get excited and they're like happy and they're like, how do you know this? And then we talk. And even like with Koreans too, like when I speak the language to them, they're like all shocked and they're like, they don't realize that I'm part Asian. It's weird because with Americans, even with Blacks, they already know like, oh, she's part something, but then with Asians, they might think it, but they won't ask it.
Yeah. Yes.
So
I see that, or they don't recognize it off the back as quick as the Black people. What are some funny stories? Because you moved to the States at 9, you said? No.
So I was in the States at 9, around 9, 10, and then I went back overseas to Japan. So I didn't live in the States long.
Wait.
お
日本語喋るんだよね。
ね、
そうだよね。あ、すごいね。いいね。
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said that's good, right? Like it's すごいね。
Yeah, すごい。いいね。
So when
あとコリアンも話すんだもんね。
Is it 韓国語
喋るのすごいよね。すごい。
No, that's good. That's fine. I am just totally there's a part of me that's constantly just like ashamed that I don't know Japanese. But during that time, my parents moved to the States. So my mom is from Kyoto. So her thing was didn't want us to stand out more than we were already. So it's like speak English, you have to learn how to be, you are American. So that's the sad part. So I'm happy to see like you're knowing Japanese and Korean and Japanese. But at what point, so how old were you when you lived in the States? When you
first like actually lived in for a period of time? I was 18.
Okay, so your mom didn't come with you?
No, my dad, I came back to the States with my dad. So my mom actually, so she's Asian, of course, but she's been in the States longer than me. Okay. So she's been in the States longer than me. So they had separated when I was 13, but she had already came to the States before that, and she just lived, on the West Coast. But
so question.
And then I lived with my dad.
You lived with your dad. There were times that I remember taking advantage is kind of like the wrong word, but I can't think of a better word right now, or better words, where because my mom was Japanese and from, Japan, that I was able to say, oh, Mom, I want to just go outside and play down there. And she'll be like, okay. There were things that I was able to get away with because she wasn't up on it, so to speak. Did you ever have those moments? Or your mom?
I never had those moments. My mom was strict, but my dad was like the one that was like the cracking the whip. she wasn't really like involved in like the discipline part of, you know, things, but it was mostly my dad.
Yeah, yeah. My father was.
So yeah, it
Yeah,
wasn't. My mom was strict on other things like,
Studying.
yeah, studying and keeping the house clean, like things like that. But like playing outside and where I'm playing at, it was more like my dad
okay.
influencing on that.
Hmm.
But you know, even though like I was with my mom a lot when I was younger, like when we go out with her, me and my brother, when we were not in Japan but in Korea, a lot of Koreans would say things, racist things out loud.
Yeah,
And my
Oh,
mom used to go up to them and hit them. Like she would
yeah.
slap them, she would curse
yeah.
them out, like in public. I was embarrassed. When I was little,
I
I
did
was
that. I did
so,
that.
yes, I was so scared. And then I would be embarrassed because I'm just like, oh my gosh, what just happened? But
Hmm.
she would literally like go slap somebody, curse them out, poke them in their face. And, you know, nowadays, I don't know if people would be like that comfortable doing that. I'm not sure. But back then, you know, she did it and there was no issues. Like they would either like just be quiet or
Right. Well, she was in Korea. She was in
right.
Korea, you know, and also from what I have witnessed from Korean women, they're pretty feisty,
Yes.
you
Yeah,
know,
they're strong,
they're feisty.
but they're very sharp, smart, and they get to the point.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I
Right.
respect them.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
sister-in-law, my brother's wife is Korean, and
Really?
that was interesting. Yeah, that was interesting with the age and the difference with, you know, my mom being from Japan and my brother dating a Korean woman. So there was a
Oh,
rub there too,
Mm.
you know, because my mom was born in 1929.
Ooh.
Yeah, so there's prejudices all around,
yeah.
you know.
Right.
So so that's it. So that's interesting. So what about any funny stories where when I say funny stories, like, you know, where it doesn't have to be funny, but instances where your culture, it's obvious that you have concocted your own culture because us being Blasian, you know, or having children that are mixed, you create a separate world, you know, because there's this culture, there's that culture, and then there's that culture of those two together. Hence soy sauce and grits. You know, certain things like my nephew was saying, him and his friend before they were going would go out, they would eat a rice ball in a FUBU shirt, just realizing that, you know, your two cultures are there.
So I recently, like within the last year, so I got married last year, and my husband, he's
Congratulations.
Muslim. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So my husband's Muslim, and I converted, but he's African American, and um,
Do you say
so
happy? Do you say happy Ramadan? Do you wish? How do you? What's the
yeah,
greeting for Ramadan?
Ramadan Mubarak, Mubarak. I can't say
Right.
it, but
Mubarak.
Mubarak, Mubarak, yes.
Mubarak.
But
Okay,
yeah,
that's that
so
accent.
yes. So that today's the first day. So we're fasting starting today. So I'm hungry. but
Oh,
yeah,
they changed the summertime.
This is
yeah,
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
because
30 days. So last year was in it was a little later. It started a little later. So it started earlier this year. But um
That's great.
I'm happy.
It's
So the
discipline.
funny thing, what were you gonna say?
I was just saying that's discipline.
Yes, it is. Like I'm hungry now because I'm cooking and I can smell the food. But um, so when I wear my kimar, you can call it a hijabi. I'll go into Asian restaurants when, and I know the look on their face. They're just like, because there's not other people there that are either African American or even a Muslim. So if I'm sitting there, I'm eating with the chopsticks in like a Korean restaurant, I'm eating the sushi, sometimes at a Japanese restaurant, or I'm eating kimchi and rice and I'm eating the chopsticks with my kimar on.
Right.
And it's like the look I get from people. I get the stares. And
I think it's
you
wonderful.
know, then when I start speaking Korean to them, they're just looking confused. And if I'm ordering food, because I like there's this rice cake I like. It's called tteokbokki. It's a spicy rice cake.
Oh, I love it.
So
too.
it's so good. So when
Yeah.
I order it, the lady's like, you know, it's spicy. Like, and I'm like, I know, I know what I'm ordering. So yeah, I get those things too, even if I don't have the kimar on. But it's just funny when I look at people's face because it's like you could read them.
I know, they're blowing
They
all
look
the
confused.
distance. Yeah, they're like,
Yes. And then they're like explaining to me what I'm ordering when I order certain things, and I'm looking at them like I know what I'm, and then I have to tell them, well, you know what, I'm part Korean, and they're like, oh my God, and oh, like
it's like, okay, I understand that, but what is this?
right, and so that's like sometimes it's amusing to me, and then also like there's been times where like if I'm in the store and it's like a Korean person and they don't speak good English, but then, you know, I have to intervene and help somebody. And they're like, oh my gosh, you speak the language? And then, and the first thing they say is, so you speak Chinese? That's the first thing people say. They assume you're Chinese when you're like part Asian.
That's all they know.
So you Chinese? You Chinese and Black? I'm like, no, it's Korean and Black. Well, isn't it all the same thing?
Oh my gosh.
I hate when people do that. I hate it.
Yeah. Well, also those people, not trying to be insulting, but not very well traveled.
Well, they just don't know. People, you know, people just don't know about other countries.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They don't
they're
get
not
out, right.
They're not well traveled, and that's not even just physically going, but just interested enough to learn that there are differences.
Everybody like the Chinese kung fu movies and stuff. That's what I don't know, feels like
they're
Chinese.
I get offended when people do that, when they're like, well, you're Chinese, it's all the same thing. I'm like, no, the hell it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's like saying, that's like saying, oh, okay, so you're Nigerian,
right?
You know,
or
no, African American. Also, it's not the same thing, you know. Yeah.
Right. And so then also like I just other things that's like not funny, but then I get like after when I check them, they're like, well, do you guys eat dog? I'm like, where do you like? I heard that. I mean, it's the same thing, right? I mean, then they say Orientals, and I'm like, I hate that too. I hate that.
Well, they used to say, well, you know, it's what's politically correct, but it's like, no, Oriental is a rug. You know, that's a rug.
Well, isn't it Orient is like original?
Orient, no? The Orient.
And Oriental is like
from the Orient.
Adjective or adverb,
from the Orient, yeah. But that's like, you know, I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know the history of the word Orient and Oriental, but I guess that's along the same times as colored, because my mother will still watch a game show, and if there's a Black person on it, she's always rooting for the Black person, but she's like, come on, colored girl, come on, colored girl.
Oh, you know? That's what she says, yeah.
She was born in 1929. Yeah, I was in the kindergarten, I think. Kindergarten or the first grade. No, it was kindergarten. And my mother walked in the rain to bring me an umbrella. And somebody said, there's a Chinese lady outside, right? And I'm thinking, what? So I look up and it's my mom, and I hid. I hid from her. And so I ended up going home, and I was on my bed, like probably embarrassed and ashamed and just all mixed up in the head. And she sat on the
Right.
bed and she said, "Are you ashamed of me because I'm not the same color as you?" And then I'm like, "Oh my God, how does she know?" Like, does she know she's not the same color as me? How does she know this? And then from that moment on, I made the conscious decision that I will never be ashamed of this woman. She is just not worth her hurt. No one was worth her being hurt. So after that, I became like a turbo charged, you better not mess with her,
Right.
which goes back to that question of how did being mixed shape your personality? And what I mean by that is, as an example, I find that I had to fight every day because I was picked on in the Black community. They wanted to fight. They wanted to beat me up. My sister went through the same thing. And that made my personality, I'm already all over the place because I was just a happy kid and I'm the youngest kid, but also I just had to step forward more.
Right.
And then there was some people that, always trying to accommodate or fit in or.
I feel like every day is a fight too. Like I could identify with you too with that when you're growing up fighting. I got into a lot of fights with girls and guys. I fought a boy once. I think I was in eighth grade. His name was Henry. They used to call him Pookie.
Oh, no, honey.
There's Pookie.
There's a Pookie in every hood, every neighborhood.
Yeah, I know a couple of Pookies.
Thank you. In every neighborhood.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
I was in sixth grade? No, I was in seventh grade. He kept teasing me. Matter of fact, he kept calling me a chink.
Yeah.
Was calling me all types of names. So I got up. Karate. It's so funny that I'm
what happened?
Story. I knew karate, and I remember I used to wear these black karate shoes to school.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? They were so popular. So
that was the style.
Yes, and I whooped his butt. Like I was kicking him. I was doing the little twists and turns. And people were happy. After that happened, nobody bothered me.
Right.
They were like, "Oh my God, how did you were like a little ninja."
That is great.
But so that's so funny.
But yeah,
I used to fight. Like I had to, and people would tease my brother, so I had to go be the big sister. But I just, like you, I even now, sometimes you have to still fight. It's a struggle.
I don't. How can I say this? And no disrespect, I don't see it as a struggle. It's more or less like I won't turn down a fight. And I'm doing that with battles like, oh, my senior citizen is getting taken advantage of. Oh, hold on. I've got to step in because I can't let anyone, I can't pass a good fight. You know what I mean? But what did you mean by that? It's still a struggle. Huh?
I mean, it's a struggle to be peaceful because sometimes I know that if I take it far, I'm gonna take it far.
That struggle inside.
Right. Yes.
Oh, well, tell me about that person.
Right.
That knows karate and will kick your butt.
So you know what? And I'll say this about my mom too. She's not scared of anybody. Like she'll go toe to toe with anybody. She don't care what race you are. She's not intimidated. And some Asians could be meek in that way, like they don't want problems. But I've come across like people in my life, I'll talk about women particularly, where they'll see me and they're like, oh, she thinks she's all that.
That's right. You
that
think
attitude. Right.
You think
the attitude. And it's like, then they think I'm supposed to not say nothing or be scared. And then when they hear me talk and I open my mouth and they're like, oh shit. Like, oh my goodness.
That's right. Oh, you're the truth.
Right. So I have to like advocate for myself and defend myself in that way because yeah, it might look sweet, but it ain't.
So yeah, I would get challenged,
What about like what do you guys what about Kumi? Like Kumi, do you feel like do you have problems with like Black women treating you differently or even Black men because you're Asian?
Yeah, well, my first experience was living with the Black family. So like the way mom that I used to live with, she was a strong businesswoman. So from seeing her, I just have the, respect towards her. And then she treated me like her own daughter. So
Kumi is very Black.
You know what she said? She's like the Black mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I see her, like treat me like that, and she treats everybody the same. And if I do something bad, she would just just slap me with her thick hands and know what's bad or good. Very ethical. She was the right person
And
that.
Yes.
So just being that there, I knew how to. I'm cool with like most of Black women or men. Like men are like different, but I'm okay with them.
Yeah,
like
she fits in very
they're like,
well.
what you know about Black? Like I'm like, oh, I know everything.
It was,
I'm good. Don't trip.
trip. Like,
Yeah.
And in Japan, she was telling me about, how some Japanese ladies, they just want to marry or date a Black guy.
A lot of them.
Kumi was like,
a lot of them. It's true.
Yeah.
Right? But Kumi is like, wait a minute, what do you know about the culture? What do you know? Do you know about blue magic and the stylistics?
Nothing like that. You know about the history?
Yeah, do you know about the history?
Yeah, they don't even know nothing about, like 1600s to like nothing. Nothing.
Right.
So like
1600s?
Like how America started.
Oh, okay.
Like we like
wait, how?
living in America, like just being with my brothers.
No, I'm just
that's
kidding.
all they talked about. Black man built this, Black man made, created this, like everything is just like black people created all that, and then just white, white person men or white people would just take it and make it a big business, whatever. So like we, constantly we had to talk about Black people made this,
And they were also not only did they feel pride about it, but they were also teaching you.
Yeah, they were
like,
always,
let me just give you some history.
Yeah, they were, and then like how police are cool with us. So like I know how to deal with the police.
Go Kumi, you talk to them.
Yeah. Like I had two brothers that was like always around me, so they would be like, you handle it, or like as long as I was here, they thought everything would be cool.
Yeah, the police wouldn't. Other than, hey, what are you?
But at the
are they bothering you?
Yeah, right. But at the same time, everybody that I they seen. So that I was a fit.
Wow.
In the hood. But yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah.
So wait, is it safe to say you invited to the cookout?
Yeah. Is she?
Yeah, I'll cook.
She'll cook.
I'll cook greens, black eyed peas.
But
low sodium.
Let me say.
But I put soy sauce.
Let me just say one thing though.
What?
The Japanese side certainly comes out on certain things.
Oh yeah,
like,
I'm proving.
Oh yeah. First of all, like we're together every day. Well, basically.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah.
Mostly. Kumi and I work together. And so, yeah, and which is a wonderful thing. So what did you make? Oh, spaghetti.
Oh,
Spaghetti. And I said, are those peas?
I thought you were gonna say corn.
No,
Some people,
you know what? I would put corn too, but
I
you know,
never heard of that. Then it becomes succotash.
succotash, but that's okra.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know. I
okra.
don't eat okra.
Tomato, okra.
Like I
that's
didn't even
okra.
know that.
Oh God,
Right?
come on.
Wait, I have one more thing to say
Mm.
about you and cooking.
Oh.
Kumi cooks good, but she'll do some weird shit. Like she made pizza, and I said, "Are those beets?" She had beets, and I was like, "Okay, no,
Wait a
you don't
minute.
put beets on pizza."
Yeah, because you know what? Rose is the only person who eats only organic stuff, right? And you assume it's somebody who eat organic stuff
Will
is
not
very
still eat it
healthy.
on
So like, I'll just,
Right.
let me just slice up some beets and give it a sweet taste to it. Because I put corn on the pizza too.
Yes, which they do in Japan.
Yeah.
They do it in Japan.
Yeah. And
Right.
isn't it good though? It's good, right?
Good. It's good.
See, I told you.
I can deal with corn, but not beets. Come on now, you got to be real. Beets.
I mean, come on,
I
you're
don't
organic
know
person.
about that.
Thank you.
I gotta taste it.
That's what I'm saying. And it's so wonderful because when it's lunchtime, Kumi will make lunch, but everything is like nicely, the
Packaged.
yes, and the presentation,
Patient.
the Japanese. And I'm like, girl, give me that knife.
I know, you just like,
It's in the same place.
yeah, I'm Japanese.
And then she'll be, I was like, okay, Kumi, give me a little bit of something. It'd be like this big. Like, can you give me some more? Well, that's you said a little. I was like, yeah, but
you would understand me.
I definitely do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I bet your husband, he's like, wait a minute, I need a little more, right?
Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't. I just started introducing him to like Asian food. So it's got to be a slow thing. We haven't got to the Japanese food yet, but he's had like, not really Korean. He's more like a Thai person. Thai. He likes Thai food. But slowly, I just taught him how to use chopsticks. Like,
oh, good.
Last year. Yep. And now he has like the whole collection. I went to the Asian market and I bought the ones that come in the cute little boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the little cartoon characters on them. So,
well, that's good. He's open to learning.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm
gonna teach him some words too in both languages.
Of course.
Yeah.
So we talked about the bullying part, the good, the funny experiences, bad experience. We talked about that, and I think that's it. Anything else
you guys need to invite me back.
Okay.
Yes.
We're gonna have more dialogue.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
I really enjoyed. This was fun. This was funny.
Really?
And I'll be in touch.
Okay. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. You'll be able to eat real soon.
Yeah, and soon, like in the next 40 minutes.
There you go.
Okay. Well, enjoy your dinner.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Sayonara.
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 Mata ne.
Yeah, mata ne.
Mata ne.
Arigato.
I like it though. This was fun. I want to come back. This is fun.
Oh, that is wonderful.